They say baseball is only a game. This is true, but the Grand Canyon is also just a hole in the earth. George F. Will's words resonate deeply with baseball fans everywhere, and although baseball will forever be known as America's game, in Essex County and the town of Tecumseh, baseball has held a special status in the hearts and minds of the young and old. The town of Tecumseh has a rich baseball heritage, and the prestigious Tecumseh Baseball Club is known throughout Essex County for its class and winning traditions. Lacoste Park, the home of the Tecumseh Baseball Club, is considered one of the best ball diamonds in all of Ontario. The story behind this successful team and beautiful park began long ago and stems from humble beginnings.
Prior to 1940, Tecumseh never had an organized club. They formed random teams out of anyone interested in playing and practiced against teams from around the county and in Detroit. In 1942, a renegade team was formed in Tecumseh named the Tecumseh Tourists. They played exhibition games throughout Essex County and the Detroit area. The Tourists rekindled interest in baseball in Tecumseh. However, players began leaving the Tourists to look for more formal leagues and better competition elsewhere. The town knew they had to make a suitable diamond to keep players in Tecumseh. Through volunteer efforts, St. Anthony's School Grounds, now known as St. Antoine, was retrofitted to field the team. However, the school grounds were still not suitable enough to support larger crowds. The old Comrade Brewery provided fence posts and a backstop for the baseball park. The Tecumseh Baseball Club was founded in 1943 and named the Tecumseh Indians, a name which they held until 1954. In 1943, the first official game for the Tecumseh Indians was played in Woodsley, as they beat the Orioles in an exhibition game by a score of 9-4. They went on to play in the Ontario Baseball Association, where they lost in the finals to the Army team from Brampton.
In 1944, an official county league consisting of 6 teams was formed with the Tecumseh Indians winning the league championship the following year. In 1943, the town purchased 23 acres of land from Percy Clapp. This piece of land was originally a tomato field. Over the years, volunteers cleared the land of trees, seeded the grounds, and by 1947, the diamond had taken shape through the effort of over 200 Tecumseh residents who volunteered their time. September 9, 1948, Tecumseh officially opened the Memorial Park, later known as Lacoste Park. The semifinal game featured the Tecumseh Indians versus the Kingsville Pirates. An estimated 4,000 fans were in attendance, comprising 4/5 of the town's population, which was approximately 5,000 in the late 1940s.
In response to public enthusiasm for the team, the club decided to build a large grandstand to accommodate their fans. In 1949, work was completed on a 2,000-seat grandstand located behind home plate at Memorial Park.
In 1950, it was decided to add a permanent clubhouse, which served as a locker room and social hub for players to enjoy before and after the games. The clubhouse was built by Buster Riem.
In the 1950s, the Carling Brewery Company moved into Tecumseh and recognized the potential of the Tecumseh Baseball Club, pledging support to the team. In 1955, the Tecumseh Indians were officially renamed the Tecumseh Redcaps. During the 3 years' existence of the Redcaps, they enjoyed plenty of success. They remained the Redcaps until 1958.
The Green Giant Company has a long history in the town of Tecumseh. Their food processing plant was the town's largest employer. The factory had often helped support the club through financial donations and even lent their welding equipment to the team during the installation of the park's fences. In 1958, the support of the Carling Brewing Company was withdrawn, and the team was struggling to survive financially. The Green Giant Company came through for the town again and pledged large support to the team. With Green Giant's help, the club survived, and the Tecumseh Green Giants were born.
In 1962, the club celebrated their 20-year anniversary. They celebrated this accomplishment by expanding the facilities at Memorial Park. One of the major upgrades was the planting of grass in the infield, which suited the level of play of competition, which was played at the ballpark.
In March of 1965, work began on the installation of floodlights for the field. With the leagues expanding throughout much of the county, it would allow for added games to be played at night. The installation of lights was completed in 3 months later in June. Memorial Park was the only park in the county to have lights, which meant that for the remainder of the 1960s, all night games were played at Memorial Park in Tecumseh. Still to this day, the original light posts are still responsible for lighting the field for night games.
In 1967, the Essex County Senior League began naming all-star teams. 2 players of the Green Giants were named to the inaugural team, Ernie Fraser and Jack Forsett.
In the 1970s, interest in baseball continued to grow, as did the pool of players. This was evident in the championships won during the decades, with 6 championships being won throughout the organization.
In 1979, 2 years after the death of Bert Lacoste, longtime contributor to the community as well as baseball club, Memorial Park, home of the Tecumseh Baseball Club since 1948, was officially renamed to Bert Lacoste Park, in tribute of the impact and influence on the teams and town of Tecumseh he had.
With an abundance of new players trying out for the senior team in 1980, the ball club opted to create 2 teams. This allowed the town to utilize their entire talent pool. The first Green Giant team played in the Stan Musial League. This league was located in Michigan and was much more competitive than the Essex County Senior League. The second tier Green Giant team continued playing in the Essex County Senior League. In a display of true dominance, both teams won their championships in their respective leagues in 1983.
In 1987, the Green Giants entered the Southwest Ontario League for the first time and beat the Windsor Chiefs, advancing to the Canadian Championships in Nova Scotia, where they won silver at the Canadians.
The decades of development culminated in 1992, when the senior Green Giants captured not only the Ontario Championship, but also the Canadian Championship in Windsor, beating out Team Quebec. It was a true honor for the town of Tecumseh, especially having won it in Windsor.
The Green Giant plant in Tecumseh was sold to Family Tradition Foods in 1996. This ended the 38-year relationship between the Green Giant Company and the Tecumseh Baseball Club. The club now needed a new name. The board of directors decided to name the team the Tecumseh Thunder. In order to find an adequate logo, they called upon the support of the community. They announced a competition amongst local grade school students. Children from every grade school in Tecumseh were encouraged to make submissions to the contest. Many entries were submitted, but 12-year-old Lauren Marshall of St. Pius Elementary School won the contest with her logo seen here. Lauren was given the honor of throwing out the first pitch at the opening day game for the Essex County Senior League in the 1996 season. Her logo still appears on the uniforms to this day.
After years of use and abuse, the grandstands behind home plate at Lacoste Park were in need of replacing. The multi-phase project cost the club approximately $60,000, which included the replacement of all wood benches, support beams, and roof.
During the first decade in 2000, there were many Ontario championships won amongst Tecumseh Thunder teams.
The Tecumseh Thunder Midgets won the 2010 Canadian Championships in Quebec. This was another major win for the team and the town. After the 2010 season, 2 major changes were made to Lacoste Park. Firstly, the outfield fence was heightened from 8 feet to 20 feet. This was done to reduce the number of home runs being hit. This allowed for more competitive play at the diamond. The second major upgrade was the addition of a sprinkler system to the outfield and a reseeding of the infield grass. The reseeding was undertaken after recommendations from the Detroit Tigers groundskeeper.
Bert Lacoste was known as Mr. Baseball of Essex County. Born in 1913, he was player and a manager of all the ball teams in Tecumseh from 1946 to 1952, and he was also a member of the board for many years. He was very persuasive and able to get a committed grounds crew to manage the field and make it into what it is today. People came to know and recognize his enthusiasm and love for the game, and for this, his name will forever echo in the annals of Essex County history and baseball lore.
The ballpark would have never been built without the driving ambition of the Tecumseh Baseball Club and the volunteer efforts of the citizens of Tecumseh. Large events like the opening day ceremonies and donkey baseball, a form of baseball where players ride the bases on the back of a donkey, were extremely popular in the early decades of the Tecumseh Thunder Baseball Club. Baseball was a sport that united the community as well as the power to bring together total strangers who would otherwise not acknowledge each other in a different setting.
In the early decades of the club, most social gatherings in Tecumseh centered around the team. Programs and concessions were sold at games, and parties would ensue for both fans and players. In the 80s, baseball began losing its monopoly on entertainment in the town of Tecumseh. Baseball began to slowly decline as a social event due to growing population and advancing technology. As the status of baseball declined in Tecumseh, the baseball community became a more tightly knit group. The small community did not extend to the general population as it had done in the past. This smaller community still continued to thrive and socialize through banquets and celebrations, such as the anniversaries of the ball club.
Seen here are advertisements from previous anniversaries. Exciting events still drew large crowds, such as All-Star games, as well as provincial and national championships. The baseball community over the last 15 years in Tecumseh has been on a steady decline. Although the bond between the baseball club and the community has dissipated, the bond between teammates, coaches, and followers of the game remains stronger than ever. Although baseball in Tecumseh has fallen into disfavor within the last 15 years, it is important to reflect on the glorious history of baseball and the role it has played in the development and prosperity of the town of Tecumseh.
And the Boston Red Sox are the world champions. For the first time in 86 years, the Red Sox have won baseball world championship. Can you believe it?
Tessie is the